Hey everybody, welcome once again to the Wrestling Inc. podcast. I'm Glenn Rubenstein, joined as always by Wrestling Inc.'s own Raj Giri. Matt Morgan will be coming along a little bit later in the show, and tonight we're going to be talking about Monday Night Raw, the night after Survivor Series, November 21st, 2016. A lot of news tonight. Goldberg is going to be in the Royal Rumble. We had a championship match for the WWE Universal Championship between Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens. Talk about everything that went down there. Also had a championship match between Cesaro and The New Day. Interesting episode tonight. A lot to dive into, but first, just want to let everyone know that this episode of the Wrestling Inc. podcast is brought to you by WWE SLAM Crate, powered by Loot Crate. Tag into a bi-monthly box for the WWE Universe, loaded with exclusive and authentic collectibles, plus apparel that you can't get anywhere else. Save $3 off your first box at lootcrate.com/WrestlingInc when you sign up and use the coupon code WrestlingInc. That's lootcrate.com/WrestlingInc, and we thank them for sponsoring the show. Raj, good to see you. What did you think of tonight? The big news, first off, that Goldberg is going to be in the Royal Rumble, and labeled this that he's got another title run in him that starts there.
Yeah, no, I thought that was great. You ride that momentum. He's got a lot of steam right now. He feels like he just feels like the biggest star in the company right now. He just feels special when he's out there. So I think that's great that they were able to come to terms and get him to do more. It's unclear exactly what that means. Like, is this just through WrestleMania or is it longer? But yeah, I think that's fantastic.
Well, I'll tell you, the first thing I was thinking, given that last night the outcome of his match with Brock Lesnar and him essentially squashing Brock in classic Goldberg style in around a minute, do you feel like he's gonna, maybe Brock will also be in the Rumble and that we'll see a little, maybe a mini rematch there? Or do you think that they're going to get a title on Brock, so that will be the championship match that Goldberg ultimately faces at the end of this journey?
Yeah, I mean, I could see them doing that, but again, I would think I think Lesnar has to win. So, if Lesnar wins the title match, and I wouldn't think that Goldberg wins the Rumble. But then again, they already did the angle. They did that in 2004, where Lesnar interfered in the Royal Rumble, costing Goldberg the Rumble, and then Goldberg got his revenge the next month. So I don't know if they do that exact same thing, but it makes sense. That same angle would make sense here. But why don't we kind of come back to it once Matt jumps on as far as Goldberg? He should be on any minute now, and we can kind of go through the rest. Yeah, no, I'm sure he'll have some additional insight. So let's talk about Cesaro and Sheamus versus The New Day. Now, with this, so they were putting over so much the fact that The New Day is close to beating Demolition's record that I was like, they're almost mentioning this to the point where I think tonight's going to be the night and New Day is going to lose it. But nope, New Day is going to continue on as champions. At this point, they're breaking the record, right? They're not going to get to like a day before and then fall short, right? I would think so, but then they're putting him in a title match again next week. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with New Day, because they have him lose every week. They jobbed him out pretty hard at Survivor Series, and then here tonight, they wrestle like total heels and basically used heel moves to win the match. So it's like they can't win a match that's a non-title match, and when they do, it's by cheating. And they're like the top, one of the top merch sellers for kids. So there's a big disconnect there. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. But that being said, I thought that match was really good. Yeah, I thought it was definitely solid. I thought Sheamus and Cesaro, it's gone on long enough now that it's working for me. They're still playing the odd couple dynamic, which I think works in their favor as far as storytelling. But I don't know. With New Day, I feel like, okay, maybe they just run through everyone one last time. They tie the record. Someone on Reddit, actually, in the comments pointed out that the day they will tie the record is not the day of like a pay-per-view. It's not a Sunday or a Monday, essentially. So they're not going to just be able to tie it on the nose. They're essentially going to have to surpass it, but maybe they get this one last run of dominance, cheating to win, whatever, and then hopefully drop it so we can get some fresh storytelling in the tag division. Yeah. I wonder if they are turning New Day heel too. That could always, maybe they feel like New Day is getting stale as baby faces, and they're turning him heel.
Yeah. Hey, there he is.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
We hear you loud and clear.
You can hear us?
Yeah. Continue. I apologize. I've been watching.
No, so we're just talking about New Day versus Cesaro and Sheamus, but I really want to get your input, Matt, on what do you think about Goldberg's announcement tonight about being in the Rumble and this being one last title run?
An easy match for him. Rumble matches are very easy. Kevin Nash was able to come back after a very extended period of time off, a bigger guy with some knee problems. Mm-hmm. He's able to come. Goldberg's going to come in. The Royal Rumble spots. We all get it. Even someone like me, when I first started and I was a rookie, you get to come in, you get your shine where you hit your comeback. You basically blow a babyface comeback. If you're a bigger guy, and a bunch of guys feeding you, and that's what's going to happen to Goldberg. He's going to be fed a bunch of people, and he's going to spear the living crap out of everybody. He's not winning it, no way. Brock's going to come out and screw him over somehow, and that will set up a match down the road.
We had mentioned that earlier, but they did that same exact thing in 2002.
That's how they set it up. Yeah.
You think they'd do that again? Just go with that same exact angle where Lesnar screws Goldberg out of the Rumble?
Yeah. I do. Yeah.
Yeah, at this point, it's not even like repeating yourself or ripping off. It's seen as like a retro throwback, to repeat a story like that.
Yeah. It doesn't feel old to me.
Yeah. And so many people don't remember that it doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah.
So what did you think, Matt, tonight? New Day with their, I think this was their most overt heel win that they've had, at least in my recent memory. I mean, do you think they're going to tie the record and then drop the title?
I think they'll definitely top the record. Yeah. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
You think they're turning them heel?
They don't need it. Do they really need heels? I mean, you got to look at the roster. Is there a tag team that's borderline babyface that could be switching with it?
I mean, they could do Enzo and Cass, but the way they been jobbing Enzo out and making them look like nothing lately, it doesn't seem like that's the way they're headed.
Yeah, I just don't see any other tag team that they could flip flop. That's a heel that could be borderline babyface. You know what I mean? That's the way they look at these things, especially coming near when they start setting up for Mania. They literally line up the roster. I used to see Jim Ross do this. He literally line up the roster of all baby faces, all heels on a sheet of paper, and we'll go over them and see if they're even or not and make them even going into Mania. So I don't see them doing that with three guys and then not having another three guys that are heels to replace them, because what other babyface tag teams are there? I mean, Cesaro and Sheamus, who else?
R-Truth and Goldust.
They don't count, but great chance for Goldust tonight. He's in great shape, by the way. Holy crap.
Yeah. But that's the thing. I think in terms of with New Day, I think they can balance it probably better than just about anyone else in terms of being likable while still doing those heel-like tactics. I mean, I almost think of it, and I don't make this comparison. It'd be easy to say based on a racial dynamic, but I think about like the Harlem Globetrotters, as a team that does a lot of tricks, a lot of shenanigans to win, but they're still faces. And I think New Day could embody that same spirit.
Most of your analogies are a really big reach for me, Glenn, but this one's pretty spot on. Seriously, I agree with that.
Yeah. So I think that's how New Day does it and stays faces. It's just they become a little more maybe showy and flashy with it. And tonight, actually, that's what it reminded me of, with the way Xavier blew the horn right in the ref's face. It reminded me very much of like a Harlem Globetrotters tactic. So, we'll see.
They make them too much money. That's the other thing you need to really remember here. They're kind of like the tag team version of John Cena. You know what I mean? There's such a cash cow in merch and things like that. The kid being kid friendly, even though they're cheating, they're still kid friendly. The colors, their entrance, they're entertaining. There's too much of a package to turn heel altogether. Yeah.
No, I think that's the way they could do it going forward. But it's interesting with Gallows and Anderson facing them next week for a title match, just because one feels like we've seen that so much, and I think Gallows and Anderson have to get a win at some point over them in a title situation, right? I mean, this is going to be what they're. I've lost count, but they've had quite a few shots at the titles, and it seems weird just to keep having the same thing replay again and again. So
it's annoying too. Like Gallows and Anderson just beat New Day 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and they don't even mention it. Like if you're beating your champs, at least use that as part of the storyline. Mention that these guys have a victory over the New Day and they're getting a title shot next week.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Anyway, but to your point, they could get the win and not win the title, by count out or DQ, and then it goes to the pay-per-view, because it seems odd that they're throwing all these title matches real quick on TV when you still got several weeks to go before they're close to beating it.
What's the next pay-per-view?
For Raw, it's Roadblock.
Okay.
That's what, 3 weeks?
December 18th, so a little under a month. I think, is it December 18th?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, December 18th. So yeah, we've got a little while still for that, and then of course TLC is coming up for SmackDown a week from Sunday, which is crazy that that's already here. But yeah, so I have to say it was interesting tonight just seeing sort of the build up with everything. I thought they did a lot of really interesting storytelling tonight. I thought that it was an entertaining show overall. To me, this did not feel like a Raw that necessarily dragged, although I thought certain segments certainly did. But I thought they had some pretty good use of backstage segments, of which what did you guys think of the way they set up the angle with Enzo and doing the pixelation and everything? I feel like it's been a while since we've seen something that overt.
I kept watching Lana. I kept watching her reaction to it, and she did a good job. She was pretty funny, and she broke kayfabe a little bit toward the end when Russo was dragging her off. She was laughing. It was pretty funny. I thought it was a pretty funny altogether little skit or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I'd rather they reverse Lana and Enzo in those roles, but yeah, it was. It was good. I mean, it was a different way to set up a match. It definitely seemed out of place in this PG era, but Enzo was good in it.
Yep.
But yeah, then it, what it led to was kind of odd.
A total random match. Totally random match.
Rusev, how tall? Do we know how tall Rusev is?
I'll look it up.
Because there was a shot there where I swear to you, he couldn't have been maybe more than 2 inches taller than Enzo in one of those shots. And as a big guy, WWE is very protective on their angles with cameras. They always shoot up at us to make us look taller than we really are, the bigger guys. They need to should make sure they're doing that with Rusev, because he looked very average height-wise, like not even more than 2 inches taller in some of those shots. How are they doing this?
That's because Rusev is 6 feet tall even, and Enzo is 5'11".
There you go. I didn't know that. Okay. Wow, that shows you how big Rusev works. I thought he's like maybe at least 6'2", 6'4".
Yeah. And Enzo, I think I didn't realize he was that tall. I thought he was shorter.
Yeah.
I think maybe because he's always next to big Cass, he just feels shorter.
Remember, it's wrestling. They add an extra. You know what I mean? I'm not really 7 feet tall. I'm
right.
6'11". But that's what they do. I bet she's 5'9.5".
Yeah, and Enzo had his hair down tonight, so he didn't even get that added advantage of the pompadour, right? So yeah, I thought that was a solid comedy bit. We'll talk about that match in a second. What did you think about how they handled that segment with Mick and Stephanie? Essentially saying there were no consequences or repercussions for the Raw men's team that lost, but essentially, having Mick treat it like it was this huge punishment for Sami to face Braun again when we've seen that match before.
Yeah, I thought that was stupid that you'd punish Sami and not the Raw team, and Seth using Kevin Owens using the list, and so Rollins lost the match and he's getting a WWE title shot, and and Sami lost, and this is his quote unquote punishment. But yeah, like you were saying, they were kind of feuding anyway, so it just seemed like it just seemed weird. And Mick Foley going along with Stephanie, I just think he's just gone down so many pegs as a character because of this alliance with Stephanie. Yeah. And this was just another example of it.
I went back and I watched the State of the Union, whatever you want to call it, State of WWE address thing. Again, I watched it 2 more times. Raj, I apologize. You were right. Mick Foley was not going anywhere with anything he was saying. He literally was sucking Stephanie McMahon's you-know-what on TV. It couldn't have gotten any worse. Like, it was bad. Yeah. Like, I don't know how I missed it the first time.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think they're just killing him.
It is brutal.
I feel like with Mick, tone and sentiment are there in whatever he's saying, but the content of what he's saying is what's lacking. I feel like he's hitting the right tone of voice. You can feel that he treats everything, even like with Sami, like, I'm really, like, he feels it, but then what he says doesn't quite live up or match, the weight of how he's conveying it. I don't know. I mean, I just feel like maybe he's not memorizing, the exact script, or they're just not giving him good lines.
It just comes across as their lackey. And
Yes.
Stephanie McMahon is so unlikable with fans as it is that to be her lackey, it just doesn't help. Like Daniel Bryan doesn't come across as Shane McMahon's lackey,
No.
So I think that just hurts him. I thought the segment, I thought this was a very good show, but this was one of the things I thought kind of stood out.
Yep.
Yeah, it was weird that angle where, hey, we're gonna punish you by putting you back into the feud that you were already started. Yeah, it was something else. So with that in mind, what was next? Let's see. Pardon me, I'm having a little freeze. We had this was interesting. Cedric Alexander versus Arya Daivari. What did you think of that, Matt? Of that cruiserweight match?
I liked it. I liked it. I liked that Daivari had a little bit of time to talk, get his character over. Again, we need to remember, we called this division out from day one that we were concerned about not having characters, right? Yeah. And I know now we're in a state where, kind of screw the characters. We want to see some flip-flop and flying. We want to see some entertainment. We want to see some excitement in the ring that makes this division different. We need to have a marriage of both. And I thought we got that in that match.
I agree with you. I do think we need a marriage of both, but I thought it's just Arya Daivari's, I think he's good in the ring. I'm glad to see him on the main roster, but I just think that gimmick just feels so outdated. It just feels like he's just inherited it from his brother, and he's doing the same exact thing as opposed to doing something different. WWE, they, if you look Middle Eastern, because Sami Zayn's Middle Eastern, he's half Syrian, and since he doesn't look it, he doesn't get a stereotypical gimmick. But if you look at, you're kind of pegged in with the, like two gimmicks that you can get. So,
where do you, because for the kids, the little kids, this is sad, but I hate to say it, like, don't they think that way, of that nationality? We don't. We want something new. We want something that's updated. The smart mark, the fans that's our age, adults that are our age, I'm guessing. But like, what about like the teenagers and kids and younger that they're trying to hit?
I almost think that that's more of a reason you shouldn't do it, because you are influencing kids. So, and it's such a hot topic right now with politically. And I think you just saw the crowd didn't respond to Daivari's promo. And I think it's just one of those things. It's people are divided after the election, and this just kind of brings, some of those topics to the forefront. And when you watch wrestling, you kind of want to get away from it.
Good point. Yeah.
But it's not even current, though. I mean, when you think about, America and Islamophobia, it's like, it's not guys that look like the Iron Sheik circa 83 that people have an issue with right now.
Listen, guys, if they're going to take from his brother, then take from the original incarnation of that original character. If you remember him and Muhammad Hassan, they were well dressed, wearing suits.
Yeah.
They weren't wearing the gimmicks on their heads yet. They weren't doing all that stuff. They were supposed to be an updated version, saying, "Look, I went to school with you. I've been here I was born here in the States. My parents weren't, but I was. I speak perfect English, and yet I get treated like blah 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 blah." Like, that's new. That's still new and current. That still happens to that nationality here in the States. They still get treated that way. So that is, why not? If you're going to take anything from his brother, take that part of it. Not when they made his brother a cartoon character.
Yeah, or just make him a baby face and just have him not have his ethnicity be part of his gimmick. I mean, I know they can't do that in WWE, but yes, try it out.
They can't. They can't. You're right.
Yeah, it's very weird. And I wonder, I mean, a lot of that, it's, I think like it's pinned on Vince McMahon. People always like to be like, oh, well, that's how he sees things. But it can't just be one person. Like, that's a systemic issue in creative. It's got to be multiple people that don't say like, hey, you think maybe we shouldn't do that this time? It's not like Vince going, no, it's hilarious. I love it. It's great. I mean, it's got to be a couple people, right, that are on this page, because no one is talking anyone down. But yeah, I mean, I just thought I don't know. In general, I think that, I've talked about before. I think it's the cheapest form of heat to try and, just diss someone's country. And that was weird too in Canada. It was strange, they didn't even do it in America. So I think it was just square peg, round hole on so many levels with that angle tonight. But the match itself, I thought was good. Now let's talk about the highlight reel and what they did with Owens and Jericho. I really thought, I'm first one to admit, I was like, oh, they're setting this up. We're finally going to see the feud. And then they swerved it at the end with the punchline. Matt, what'd you think of the segment?
I liked it. I thought it hit exactly what it needed to hit. Nothing. Nothing too crazy.
I thought it was really good. I mean, I saw it coming. I thought they were going to say Seth Rollins, not Roman Reigns, but
Roman Reigns was literally a punchline tonight.
Yeah. But I thought they did it perfectly. I mean, these guys have such great chemistry. The thing that I thought, people are going to get on me for being negative, but at the end, Rollins and Reigns are just buddies again. Like they haven't really done anything to take them that direction. They're just there. And I feel like it's kind of a big deal. Like you could have made that more of a storyline and done more to get them there, as opposed to, hey, here they are and they're best buds again.
Yeah, I thought it was more circumstances, the circumstances have had them align again, because I do think, they'll be back to feuding, in a couple weeks, depending on how storylines play out. But I thought that was interesting. But I like that they're keeping Jericho and Owens together for the time being, and I thought that was a really good segment. One thing, this great segue here with how great Chris Jericho looked. It's a great time to talk about DDPY. Now, Diamond Dallas Page with DDP Yoga has been changing countless lives, and many of the past and current roster have benefited immensely from it. Guys like Chris Jericho, Jake Roberts, Scott Hall, and Mick Foley. And if you've been thinking about taking control of your own health and fitness as we head towards the new year, they're having their biggest sale ever, their Black Friday sale, and it actually kicks off this Tuesday, just in time for your holiday shopping needs. This year, he decided not only to make it the biggest DDPY sale he's ever offered, but Diamond Dallas Page has created one of the craziest Black Friday videos that we have ever seen here at Wrestling Inc. And they convinced Jake the Snake Roberts to be hoisted up in the air in front of a green screen. We'll have it on the site this Wednesday. If you're a fan of It's a Wonderful Life, you can't miss this. So for a limited time, I want to tell you that you can get DDPY DVDs for 25% off plus 3 months of full access to the DDP Yoga Now app. Or if you're into digital only, you can get just the DDP Yoga Now app for 25% off. And the cool thing about their app is that you can do more than just track your yoga. You can also connect it to a Bluetooth heart rate monitor, track your calories and heart rate, whether you're at the gym, on your DDP yoga mat, or even while you're out mowing the lawn. All the fitness tracking features, including pain tracking measurements, progress photos, and more, are completely free in the app. Oh, and you can also get 25% off all DDPY swag. That's t-shirts, hats, mats, heart monitors, and autographs from Diamond Dallas Page. So if you've been on the fence about starting DDPY, this is the best time to get on board. Head on over to ddpyoga.com/wrestlinginc. Stop procrastinating and get started now with DDP Yoga, and we thank them for sponsoring the show. So Rusev versus Enzo, the match itself. Again, I think the comedy of it was certainly on point. So 2 questions for you, Matt. One, I mean, do you think they even made it remotely credible that Enzo wasn't going to get squashed? And do you think they're going to continue this from here with maybe Cass and Rusev next week?
Yeah, I do. I think who knows where those two are going? You know, some weeks they're going with Cass is going to be a singles act that they're looking to build, and then other times they're a tag team again. It's a tough spot for them, actually, because they are so entertaining. Enzo is so friggin' entertaining. But they're also hurting them in so many other ways. I don't have time to get into the stupid Christmas commercials, stupid stuff like that. But everybody could see what was going to happen with this match.
Yeah, I mean, you knew it was going to happen. They're basically Enzo's becoming the setup guy for Big Cass. So, Enzo gets destroyed, Big Cass gets in that feud. But, Rusev really doesn't have anything else right now with Roman Reigns, kind of in the Owens-Jericho feud now. So, it's something for them to do. And they've been wrestling at live events, in the UK tour when Roman Reigns had to leave. So, I think that's the next program. But I didn't think you needed to squash him that bad. It was like he was Brock Lesnar in there. But yeah, it was short and quick.
Well, I think that's the issue with an Enzo singles match. I mean, singles match always kind of becomes that. I mean, with the tag match, and that's their entire gimmick in the ring, is that Enzo takes the beating and they get the hot tag. Cass comes in, saves the day just by, stampeding everyone. But yeah, I thought it was adequate length, but never for a moment. I mean, if Enzo would have won, that would have just upended all things I consider to be real and truthful in this universe, as far as the way the world works. But yeah, I think Cass versus Rusev, I think that'll be a solid program. I mean, certainly you'll get by a couple weeks if Roman is going to be doing something else with assisting Seth. I'm sure next week we'll see the Jericho Owens tag team against Reigns and Rollins. So yeah, I think it makes sense to give Rusev something to do for the time being.
Actually, we'll get into this later. I almost wonder if this means like Jericho's gone, but we'll get into it.
I don't think he's ever leaving now. I think he just likes to keep going on about how he's month to month and it's temporary, just so we're all surprised when he keeps sticking around.
Yeah,
Well, it's interesting because, I mean, how many times do you have people come back, unless it's a Lesnar or Goldberg or someone like that, do you have someone come back and keep talking about publicly like, oh, I'm just on a month-to-month thing. This is just, normally you don't express that so overtly. So I think he's just trying to misdirect us at this point. But yes, now I know you said they don't matter at all, Matt. But tonight, the Golden Truth versus Gallows and Anderson. I mean, aside from Goldust looking jacked, and that is entirely thanks to DDP Yoga that he Dustin Reynolds credits for getting him in that kind of shape. Aside from Goldust looking great, I mean, did the match do anything for you?
No.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. Raj, a counterpoint? Was it the match of the night?
Same thing. I think
no one?
Gallows and Anderson have been diminished so much that they just don't feel like anything special anymore. But I didn't think it was bad either. It was fine. It was good for what it was.
But here's the crazy part that they actually labeled. I mean, that they actually went into that saying this is the number one contenders match because it's like Enzo versus Rusev. I mean, who in their wildest dreams, even 7-year-old children watching their first wrestling program ever, went, oh well, those guys aren't winning. I mean, there's just no credibility in setting up stakes for something that is so obvious, and I would love to be proven wrong with some sort of swerve to make it interesting, but their victory seemed like a foregone conclusion. Now, I will say Braun Strowman versus Sami Zayn. I thought this was an interesting angle because Sami did not get demolished like this last time. Matt, what did you think of this match and letting Braun sort of dominate Zayn so much?
I know you guys don't believe this, but I still think there's something for Zayn. I do. It might not be on Raw. It might be on SmackDown. But I don't think him getting squashed like this is any indication on how they feel about him. I know what you saw may say differently, but I think it more has to do with Braun. They needed to follow up big with him this week because how they treated him last night at the pay-per-view. They made him look like a monster, and they needed to follow through tonight, and they did. They needed to feed him somebody, and that's with these depleted rosters, unfortunately, it had to be Zayn. There is a semi storyline between the two. It made sense. It doesn't hurt Zayn. I just don't think it does at this point. It doesn't help him, that's for damn sure. But I also think it helps him get to SmackDown somehow.
Yeah, Sami was destroyed like he was complaining about network royalties on Twitter or something. Like WWE was, like how they did with JTG and Ryback. I mean, you don't see a squash like this often where they just end it. But I thought it did the job as far as getting Braun over and looking like a monster, and he really stood out. And I think that was their purpose, make him look like something special. And he looked more special tonight than, they've been doing this build with him and Nia Jax. I think it's been working better for him and really came through tonight. So, I feel too bad for Sami, but it did the job.
Right.
If it leads to Sami getting a victory at like Roadblock over Braun, I think it'll be good. But Matt,
I don't see they're going to happen. Yeah, they're not going to do that.
No.
I need to be invested, Matt. If I think it's a foregone conclusion that the guy I like is going to lose, it's just like that's just heartbreaking, especially when Sami Zayn, who's easily in my top 5 favorite wrestlers.
They're building Braun for something bigger than just to lose to Sami Zayn.
Who do you think Braun loses to eventually? It's
usually Cena. It's usually Cena that we get built up to to lose in some type of match at some point or another. The big guy, I mean. But this spot, I don't know nowadays with how they got guys at the top, you know?
Especially because he's on Raw, not SmackDown. So, like, which Raw guy? I mean, it could be Roman, I guess.
They don't really have that guy anymore. They don't have that Cena. You know, they're looking for, you know, these guys have an opportunity to be that, but they got to put in, they got to put more time in at the top.
Yeah, because you got Taker, but he's on SmackDown. Goldberg, but Goldberg versus Braun just doesn't. It's not a WrestleMania match.
They can never let that match happen. No.
Yeah. So really, who do you got? I mean,
yeah. Intercontinental level type is usually the way it works. You know, as the next step for him. But I don't know.
Well, Rusev, now that we've determined, is only 6 feet tall. I think, you know, that could be an interesting matchup if we had someone on like a Rusev level against Braun, because he would certainly look like the underdog compared to him. But, you know, he's stocky, and I think that gives him an advantage. But yeah, I don't know. I want to be surprised with it. You know, it's the same thing. I mean, hey, let's not forget that last night Goldberg pushing 50 came out and broke Brock Lesnar's streak. So we can always be surprised by programming and the way things go. So one note, you know, I had from this was that we had again the vignette about Emma's return as Emelina. Raj, do you have any insight on when in the heck she is finally coming back?
I mean, she's been, you know, showing up at live events and stuff, so she's pretty much ready. And my guess would be the night after Roadblock. You know, they kind of got their programs into place into that, so. That's my guess.
Who cares?
I thought Emma was good. I really liked what Emma was doing before she got injured. I thought that was a good gimmick. And her and Dana together, I think, still were better than Charlotte and Dana are. But with the new gimmick, I'm not as impressed with that. Okay, so the women's segment that they had with Charlotte and Sasha, Matt, what'd you think of the match and this angle they're going in now of kicking it right back to Charlotte and Sasha?
Yeah, so I was surprised. I thought it was set up perfectly, more Bailey, you know, more for Bailey. But I'm all for that. I'm all for, you know, Banks and Charlotte, you know, I'm all for that. I know it's been played out, but I don't care. The in-ring work is fun to watch. I enjoy watching it. I enjoy watching that akin to my two favorite guys I got to work later tonight, and I was stoked to watch in the main event, you know, Owens and Rollins. I could watch these people go at it all day.
Yeah. Who do you think wins next week? Because on the one hand, you had Sasha win tonight, but on the other hand, Charlotte's defending in her hometown. You know how Vince is with people defending the title in their hometown. So
it's tricky now with Charlotte, because every time we think that she ain't supposed to win, she wins. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't expect her, you know, I don't know. It's too tough to try to predict this. It's a worked environment, you know, but I don't think she loses in her hometown, though. I don't.
Yeah, I think they've already set the wheels in motion for Bailey and Charlotte. So I think this is just something for them to do in the meantime. Charlotte gets the win, and it's probably attacks her afterwards. Bailey makes a save, and they keep that going.
There you go.
Yeah, and I think Nia could easily do it, you know. Nia and
I think Nia and Sasha is where they're going next. Yeah,
I think Nia should never speak again. Never let her talk again.
Yeah, that her music and her promos. Yeesh.
She doesn't need to talk. What are they doing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I same thing with Braun. I think Braun's better when they don't have him speak. I think it's just the mystery, right, of someone that's silent and threatening is far better than having
their look does more talking than any verbiage could ever do for them.
Yeah, no, I agree. But man, Dana. So is Dana?
And one thing, I don't think you should be double suplexing Nia Jax already. You know, like you up until just a week ago, she was this unbeatable monster, and you're double suplexing her.
Well, they did it last night, or they tried to.
No, they should reverse that on them.
Yeah.
It got a huge pop. I'm going, what the freak? I've done that a million times on Beer Money. Ain't nobody cheer for that.
Yeah. Well, there's something when you see it, right, the first time with someone in that environment. I think it was just unexpected more than anything else. So we do have a new number one contender for the Cruiserweight belt tonight. Rich Swann beating out Noam Dar and TJ Perkins.
I like him a lot. I like Rich Swann.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, I thought it was good. It sets up a title match for the first episode of 205 Live. You know, I don't have high. I think the show could be good, except for the timing of it. Doing it after the SmackDown taping, I think, is such a bad idea. But you know, it's a smart move to set it up with the title match on the first show.
Yeah, and you know, I didn't notice till tonight. Has Rich Swann always had the wings on his shorts?
They really stood out tonight. I thought so too. I was like, I couldn't remember if I remember seeing him before, like on his boots and stuff. But yeah.
I thought that was different, but definitely cool. So, you know, I want to take a sec because it came today and I'm so excited to talk about our other sponsor for this episode. And that is WWE SLAM Crate, powered by Loot Crate. Now, if you don't know about Loot Crate, it's awesome. It's this mystery box that you get with stuff that you're going to love. And SLAM Crate, powered by Loot Crate, is a bi-monthly box all for fans of the WWE Universe, loaded with exclusive and authentic collectibles, plus apparel you can't get anywhere else. And what's cool about it is that each crate contains over $60 in value, and they're less than $30 each. So what's cool is that this first one had a limited edition Enzo and Cash shirt that came in it. It also had New Day figurine. Also, and this is my favorite thing, your own Mitch the Plant. Remember Dean Ambrose's short-lived sidekick, Mitch? You can grow your own in this plant that came here. In addition to limited edition Sasha Banks sunglasses, NXT patch, Dean Ambrose belt buckle, and a Shinsuke Nakamura poster came in this. Now, this was the first one, but if you sign up now, you're going to be able to get the next SLAM Crate that comes out. It's going to be shipping in mid-December. So what we want you to do is go to lootcrate.com/WrestlingINC, and you're going to be able to save $3 off your first box by entering the coupon code WrestlingINC at checkout. Again, that's lootcrate.com/WrestlingINC. And we want to thank WWE SLAM Crate, powered by Loot Crate, for sponsoring the show. I'm really stoked about this. I thought this was so cool today, and I love the Mitch the Plant thing. It just shows to me that the people that are putting this together are true WWE fans, that they're doing these quirky little runoff stuff you would never see for sale in the WWE shop that you're only going to be able to get through SLAM Crate. I'm really stoked to not only have them as a sponsor, but to be a subscriber, because getting one of these crates is like a great present to myself. It's fantastic. So let's talk about the main event. I know Matt dropped out, and I'm sure he'll be back because
he's coming back.
His favorite wrestlers tonight, the two guys that he said he could just watch forever, Owens and Rollins. And what I thought was interesting about this is the second they give a stipulation that certain people are banned from ringside or banned from being there, you just know somehow they're going to factor into the match. In this case, Chris Jericho. But what did you think of the match, Roger? I want to get your thoughts first. And did you notice also that it seemed really odd, the commercials that they had early on in the match?
That stood out like a sore thumb. They cut to commercial, like 3 times during this match?
Yeah.
I thought that hurt the flow, but the match itself was great. The finish was frustrating. I'm sure there's a storyline for that. You know, some people were asking if they're going to fire Jericho, a storyline for his next hiatus, but he is booked for TV, for a while. So I doubt that's it. Maybe they'll do something like they did at TakeOver, where Jericho's suspended in the cage, at Roadblock. But the ending was frustrating. They've done that every time with Jericho interfering. I'm sure there's a reason for that, and they're going to announce some sort of stip for Roadblock next week. But I thought it was a great match, and just Rollins is, I still think he's missing something as a top babyface. But the match was good.
Oh, Matt's calling in. So I want to ask you this, Raj, because I'm sure you will know this. I understand when you're involving tables, ladders, and chairs in a match. Now, tonight we had the chair and we had the table. We did not have a ladder. But what was the first instance of a table being involved in a wrestling match? And the reason I ask this is I understand why there are folding chairs around a wrestling ring, right? Because people are sitting, so it makes sense to involve them. You understand why there would be a ladder around there. But I'm just curious, was there an original justification for why there was a table the first time it was used in a match?
First of all, why would a ladder be around?
Because you need to hang like a light or something. You're doing rigging above, there's Jumbotron. I don't know. I could see a ladder being around.
It is literally for that, just somebody to crash through. If there's a story behind it, I'm sure someone will correct us on Twitter.
The most ridiculous is when you got a kendo stick under the ring. Like, there is absolutely no reason for a kendo stick.
But a sledgehammer makes sense. It's like you're driving stuff in.
It used to drive me nuts. He'd roll out of the ring and voila, there the sledgehammer would be waiting for him.
Yeah. Yeah. Matt, what did you think of Rollins versus Rollins versus Owens?
Off the friggin' chain, off the charts, out of this world, out of this galaxy, pay-per-view main event worthy. Holy crap. That match was awesome. And they've worked so many times, yet every time they impress me. It's not just the moves anymore. If you heard the beginning of the match, right? They're in Bizarro World. They're in Toronto. Okay, they always boo the babyface, but Seth hasn't been getting a good babyface reaction for the most part since he's come back anyway. It's not just because they're in Toronto that he got booed in the beginning, but he's a great example of being able to make people feel what he does in that ring. Because once that bell sounds, he gets those people behind him, and tonight he definitely did. Kevin Owens is hilarious in everything he does. Go back, the fans watching this at home, if you guys have DVR'd it, or not, DVR'd it, go back and watch when they're fighting around the outside of the way outside. Is right after Rollins hit the planche off the top of the whatever the hell it was, the mezzanine. Watch as he's trying to chase after Owens, and Owens is just like pantomiming. He's running away from him. Just watch his body language, watch his facials, watch what he's saying. There's so many nuggets in there that are hilarious that only he does. But this was a main event pay-per-view worthy match. Oh my God, it was good.
What did you think of the finish?
As usual, annoyed. I really thought the table spot was the finish. I actually, they got me for a second there.
Yeah.
They did.
Well, they got to do something with Jericho this time. What do you think? Where do you think they go with that? Go ahead. And I was saying, some people were asking if they're going to suspend him storyline, but he's booked for TVs going forward still. So
they've got to do something storyline with him, because he was at ringside and the announcers were trying to cover his ass for a second, and then he was ringside. Yeah,
I was saying they could do like with Paul Ellering at TakeOver, where they have him in the cage suspended over the ring.
It would be pretty funny.
Yeah, because Jericho, Ellering was quiet. Jericho would just be complaining the entire time.
Yeah, putting people on the list.
Yeah,
right.
Speaking of which, tonight I loved that backstage bit with Owens, with Charlie, the announcer.
Me too.
And because did you guys notice this? It was the TakeOver pre-show. If you're not looking at her, she sounds just like Renee Young. So it was fantastic that he called out that she wasn't.
Her voice sounds like her. Her delivery is nothing like her. Renee Young is miles ahead of her.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. But yeah, the voice. So I love that callback there. No, I thought if anything about the ending, it was just that for such an epic match, just the ending seemed a little rushed. Once they got back in the ring, you could tell they were up against time. I could have seen that match going on easily another 15 minutes and being great.
What really irked me the most is the table spot was during commercial break. That tells me, obviously, there was something in the show that ran heavy. They would never, in a midst of WWE, this is a juggernaut, they would never, ever do. I encourage somebody to go prove me wrong. They would never put a table spot during commercial break or let it happen. The guys would be good enough to get around whatever, a double down, a double clothesline off the rope, something to double down while they're in commercial break, come back, and then go to the table spot and take things out of the order that they had them in, and then replace them with something else. That's what pros really do. And I'm surprised that didn't happen tonight, because that was a big spot, as was Kevin Owens is running cannonball to him in the outside. That was during commercial break. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of things that went on in that match that was during commercial, and there's no excuse for that.
And they cut to commercial, we were saying, like 3 times during that match.
3 times.
It was insane.
3 times.
And the first 2 were during the very early stages of it, which I thought also kept it from getting going as quickly as it did once they stopped cutting.
To go through a table on the outside, guys, I was telling you how the table spot's not that bad when you're in the ring. On the outside, it's not a fun time.
Yeah.
Those pads don't protect you.
Right.
So let me ask you, Matt, about this, because you have a much greater level of insight into this than any of us certainly ever would. So when you're doing a match and you go outside the ring and you go that far outside the ring, what sort of production notes are there? How does that work from a behind the scenes point of view? Like that trash can that Rollins hit him with. I mean, was there care ahead of time to say, like, okay, you're going to use this specific trash can and we're going to have it prepped?
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha. Yep. Yeah. And that's what I thought was interesting, even when taking the fall, the way they do after Rollins did that jump spot. I mean, there was no additional padding there, it looked like.
No.
But, Yeah.
No, there was not. It was right where the wire. He actually landed where the wires run. There's like this. There's this gimmick, this yellow and black gimmick that it's like hard plastic. Actually, it rises up a little bit, goes over the wires, and then goes back down. Whatever the hell that gimmick's called. He landed like right next to that. Like that was right. That's concrete.
Yeah, that's crazy. And now, I mean, another thing just had me thinking about this because I'm sort of, weirdly OCD about it. It's like a wrestling mat is they roll them out sometimes in between a match to have a fresh one. You have the padding outside there, but how is it taking those falls and interacting with like an arena floor? I mean, or are you just so caught up in the moment?
It's a thud. It is a thud of thuds. You go right through that. That doesn't do anything, especially from high up where he was coming. But a general bump, if I would just take a snap back bump, just standing on my feet and snap back, throw my back at the ground as hard as I could. That knocks the wind out of you.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. But I thought that was great. And I love that they made the full circle there. I think that's the furthest we've seen out of ring action in a while. I think that's the furthest out they've made it, at least in recent memory.
Great observation.
I just want to see one time. I want to see him make it to the concession stand and just throw somebody into like a popcorn machine or something.
Yeah, they've gone towards the concessions before.
Yeah, I've seen him go out into there, but never fully involving that. There's just so much more.
That has Golden Truth written all over it.
Yes, totally. Well, yeah.
Our Truth will grab the packet of red vines and then start eating them, while Goldberg, our Goldust is getting his butt kicked. Totally. But all in all, I have to say, for me, I know we rag on Raw a lot for seeming like kind of a weak or middling show tonight. But Matt, what did you think of the show overall?
I liked it. I thought tonight was definitely not middle of the road. It was above it. I always give it I wimp out and always give it like a 6 or a 7. I'm going to give it a good 8, kind of high. Shade under 8, but over 7.5, 7 3/4.
That's kind of the range.
Because of the main event, though. Let me be very clear about that. Because of Kevin Owens' awesomeness, and that main event match is a big part of it for me.
Yeah, I didn't think there was anything that was necessarily that bad on this show that that went for a long period of time. So I thought it was a solid show. One of the best ones in a while. So yeah. Solid thumbs up. But yeah, I think I'd definitely go with an 8.5 even for the current era.
Yeah, compared to some weeks when it's just like, oh, please let it be over already. I thought it was definitely an improvement.
Yeah, so all you haters out there that think all we do is hate and crap on the show, look at that.
Yeah. Solid reviews all around. And real quick, since we got some extra time, guys, remember to use hashtag WINC podcast and we'll get some questions in as well.
So, one thing that I want to point out, because people do talk a lot and think we're negative about it. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but it's like, I watch these shows because I want to love each episode. I want to love each pay-per-view. I don't think any of us are that impressed with our own comedy or observations that we go into this saying like, oh man, I hope this is terrible so I can rip it a new one. It's like, we wouldn't be doing this if we didn't want to enjoy it.
No, I'm back. I think most fans have been impressed by this. I'm not trying to like brag about myself, but the fact that I'm not that far removed from it, and I'm able to tune in and watch this as a fan, because I was a little boy watching just like everybody else. I'm able to morph back into that, and I love watching it now from that perspective. Whether I've worked against these guys or not, I'm watching this from a fan's perspective as much as possible, like the rest of you guys, because I want to be entertained more than anything.
All right, a couple of questions here. Someone's asking, who does Roman Reigns lose the U.S. title to?
God, he can't lose that fast enough, in my opinion.
I forget that he has it sometimes because
something. Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman needs a little bit more. He needs another 2 steps. And I guess I'm wishing here. This is wishful thinking. I mean, does WWE they love Roman that much? They're still that.
Hey, he gets another wellness violation, and I think Braun Strowman could be our U.S. champion.
Well, I do think they're moving Roman towards the world title, the Universal title at some point soon, because that's the house show going forward. So you would, do they have U.S. champion against the Universal champion, or do they take the title off of him before that? And they could always put it on like Jericho or someone, since he's kind of in that mix right now. It's it's Rollins and Reigns against Jericho and Owens. So
it's a waste to do champion versus champion crap. U.S. versus heavyweight. Somebody could be using that. Braun Strowman could use that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
especially with the roster so thin. I think you don't want to have both titles, in the main event.
My thought was that if Goldberg is going to get a title run, I mean, I don't know. I mean, they didn't specify which title. It could be the US title.
No, he's only going to be wrestling a handful of matches, and you don't want it to be a US title run.
Guys, there's not going to be any title run. Come on, are you high? He might have said that. I don't care what he said. He's coming back and he's setting up his match versus Lesnar. That's what all of this is.
Yeah.
You don't see them making a left turn and going with like Undertaker or something?
That definitely could be something. That'd be interesting. I don't know.
But here's the thing. I mean, what Goldberg did last night, I know we talked about that being a throwback to what his dominant streak in the late 90s. He could do that. He could come back. Yes. I mean, if he wants to work, he can come back and do that every other week. And
then, as the saying goes, the bell rings. And that bell ring meaning Undertaker or longer match with Brock or whatnot. That match has to take place if that's what they're going to keep doing, these short, quick matches. The payoff is going to be him losing. And it's not going to be in record time when he loses. It's going to have to be a full-out match.
I don't see him at his age working that many matches, enough to even be doing these short matches, here and there. I think his next one's going to be Rumble. The one after that's probably Mania.
Yes, that's exactly what it's going to be.
Yeah, definitely make them count.
And it's going to be Brock Lesnar.
So what's next for? So you think this is what's next for Lesnar? Or you think they're going to put him in something in the interim?
I think it's what's next. I think we're pretty much close to WrestleMania season. Royal Rumble kind of kicks it off, and that's where you start these feuds. So we're only a month and a half away from that. So, or 2 months. So
now is Rumble Is Rumble a crossover pay-per-view?
Yeah.
Okay, so what are the crossover ones? So we know WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, and is Money in the Bank going to be crossover?
Just those four.
Just those four. Gotcha. That works.
And then now with those four, starting with WrestleMania going forward, they're going to do TakeOver those weekends on Saturday, then Raw and SmackDown. Usually SmackDown is in another city, but now they're going to be doing all four events in the same city. So
awesome, because I mean, I know at WrestleMania we didn't do it, but a lot of people went from Dallas to Houston for SmackDown, and it's great. I mean, they're already there. Staying an extra day is nothing. It makes sense to make it even more of an event that way.
Yeah, I mean, for me, by Tuesday, I'm just worn out. I need to, I need to go home. But it's great from it's great for hardcore fans. Let's see, guys. Remember #WINC podcast. Let's get a couple more here. When do you see Hulk Hogan returning at the Royal Rumble?
No, I think in time for Mania.
Yeah,
maybe something like
February, that. Like after the February pay-per-view, before Mania, announces.
Yeah, I mean, you don't think it's been long enough yet?
I think people are fine with it now.
Yeah,
I don't know. Well, okay. So let me ask you. So your predictions, that because I was gonna say, what do you predict? Who makes an appearance first on WWE programming? Who reappears first? Donald Trump or Hulk Hogan? Because I think both would have a similar reaction for entirely different reasons, and then, like, they've steered clear of acknowledging that Trump is now our president-elect. Yeah. I don't know. I think they're sensitive to that stuff. They're a publicly traded company.
Hogan can do no wrong in the WWE Universe. It doesn't matter.
They can't watch Rock and Wrestling anymore. I mean, they took that down. They stripped him from everything.
How about this, Glenn? Yeah. When he comes out there and he blows the roof off that mother effer, you're going to owe me money. Bet me $5 right now. No one's going to give a crap. They don't give a crap right now. I'm not saying what he said is right. I'm just telling you how it is.
I think he's going to have to come out in, like a tag stable with the Reformed Nation of Domination or something, just to kind of really put that all that stuff's in the past. No. And he's really cool with everything.
I think it's all forgotten. I think it's,
I don't know.
You'll see. When he comes back, he's going to get a huge pop. It's going to be like nothing happened. There's been way worse.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, but the lengths that they took to distance themselves from him, and so, I mean, that is unprecedented, right? This isn't. I mean, with Chris Benoit, like, they don't mention anything new, but with Hogan, I mean, they like erased him from the network for.
Here's the difference. He's the very thread that was able to put together. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. He's the very foundation of that company as far as stars go. He's the very first, the biggest, whatever you want to call it. So anything where you omit him, it looks like a huge deal because he's all over everything. Everything market-wise, everything cartoon-wise, everything 80s-wise, everything today-wise. He's all over everything. So anytime you take him because of something he did wrong and take it out, of course it's huge. But it's not like, say, let's take this out. Now we're going to take this away. Now we're going to take this away. It was just, we're taking Hulk out of our stuff for now because of what he said. He shouldn't have said it, whatever have you. We can't have anything to do with it. Enough time's gone by. And I'm telling you right now, no one's going to give a crap, and they're going to be ecstatic when he comes back.
All right. Here's one more. What do you see Undertaker doing at WrestleMania?
Who knows? Who knows?
So I mentioned this. I mentioned this last week. I think he's going to face AJ because he said he's not back just for WrestleMania. So I think he's facing AJ at the Royal Rumble. He wins the title, and then John Cena challenges him for his 16th title reign and against Taker at Mania. They wanted to do that match last year. I think they do it this year. I think it'd be huge. And I think that's probably the biggest match they could do for Taker outside of maybe Goldberg from a marquee standpoint.
Do they have to have the title in that, though, for that to happen? I hate to see. AJ's doing a good job. I don't know.
Yeah, I could see them doing that because they need they need to load up that Royal Rumble show at the Alamo Dome. You got 65,000 people they're going to try to get fit. So
isn't John Cena versus Undertaker big enough? Without the title?
You definitely could. But I think it makes it bigger with the title because the storyline of him going for his 16th world title, I think it makes it that much bigger. I mean, you could always go John Cena and AJ because AJ has all those victories over him. But I could see them going with Taker and then AJ after Mania, since that storyline's already built in.
Cool, man. Anything else?
I think we can. We could take one more. Or someone's asking what will Brock be doing at the Rumble. I don't think anything. I think he's gonna probably interfere and beat the hell out of Goldberg.
Yep. Backstage, something or another. Yeah, he jumps him backstage. I don't know. Something will happen. Yeah. So
you think they've paused any plans they had for Brock versus Shane?
I hope so.
God, I pray so.
After last night, I mean, it's just Shane hasn't he and his family been put through enough with this return? It's like, do they have to keep it going?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird too. I mean, I know, he doesn't need to be doing this. That's what makes it all the more impressive that he does. Because
I think as soon as Goldberg signed with them, all the Shane stuff's out the window, and for good measure, because Goldberg and Lesnar and Shane was not a dream match.
Yeah, although I think Shane is put on some respectable performances.
Yeah,
of course.
For a normal average human being, he's very impressive. I mean, he's definitely.
Yeah. And so what was the final story last time that, Raj? I saw on WrestlingINC today an article about that. So so Shane was just in a lot of pain, but he did walk himself out of the arena last night.
Yeah. So we'll have to see. I don't know if he got a concussion or not. It didn't sound like he went to the hospital, so I think he was fine. He was just shaken up, and we'll see. He'll probably be at SmackDown tomorrow.
Cool, man. So so we'll be back later this week to talk about SmackDown Live. Should be happening Wednesday at his usual time, but there's a slim chance because of the holiday, Raj and I might have to push to Friday. Of course, stay tuned to WrestlingINC for all the latest details on programming with that. Matt, you want to plug anything before we wrap up here?
No, I'm sure everybody knows where to find me on Instagram and Twitter.
Yep. And Raj, people stay tuned to the site, and want to remind everyone, ddpyoga.com/WrestlingINC to save 25% off, and SLAM Crate at lootcrate.com/WrestlingINC. Use the code WrestlingINC to save $3 off your first crate. So until next time, everybody, I'm Glenn Rubenstein, and thanks for tuning in to the WrestlingINC podcast. We'll see you back here.